spread one love, okay? Thanks for tuning in to us, the MNM Show.
MNM Show.
Signs that are ruled by Mercury. That would be specifically Geminis and Virgos. Mercury also rules communication, so that would be your air signs because they're the communicators. So these specific signs will be very, very, very affected by Mercury. It will seem like a clusterfuck of what the fuck, basically.
What?
Your best
Which
plans.
signs are those again?
All of them.
That would be your Libras, your Aquarius, your
Damn.
Geminis, and then again adding in your Virgos because they're ruled by Mercury too. So that doesn't mean that everybody is exempt from what happens with
Libra?
Mercury.
Aquarius.
Wow.
Aquarius.
Libra.
What in the... Yes! That is
It has been a hard couple of days too.
Yeah, man.
It really has. Wow.
You have to work very hard at not being petty, spiteful, or snarky or anything like that because while it seems like Mercury retrograde, you know, Mercury goes around the earth faster, around the sun faster than the earth does. So there's a period when it seems as if it's moving backwards in the sky. This is the retrograde. It happens 3 times a year. So during that time, communication is just awry, arguments out of nowhere for nothing, out of
What do you mean, J Mills?
Exactly. Transportation and communication mess ups, car breakings, phone breakings, all of things like that. And
Everything in my life makes sense now.
Yeah, exactly.
it's like the weather. It's like, oh, Mercury's in retrograde. Let me bring my bullshit under umbrella.
Right, it's
So
60
it's
degrees
gonna be
outside right
raining
now.
bullshit.
No big deal. Everything's
Right?
fine. Everything's fine.
Nothing to
Well,
worry about.
how do
Nothing
us
to worry about.
Aquarius and Libra protect ourselves for the next retrograde?
Well, one thing, and I've been remiss on doing this today, and I know better, is wearing copper. Copper is a good thing to help your energies and your balance.
Does a copper IUD help?
Oh, that's interesting.
Hey, I mean, it has to. It's in like your most important fucking factory. I'm gonna get a copper fucking wetsuit. like a lead copper.
At any store that sells cool candles,
I'm not even
herbs and things like that, they tend to have these copper bracelets, and they also have magnetic bracelets that go here along, one of your important prime meridians and kind of help to get your aura straight. If you got your quartz, now's a good time definitely to incorporate that into wearing that every day. Quartz kind of catches negative energies and doesn't let it weigh on you. It's not like it's a block, but there's a truth to like people bringing an energy that stays on you. And then sometimes they can bring the bullshit and you can just look at you and your bullshit. It doesn't affect me.
Look
Damn,
at you
I
and
need
your
to get
bullshit.
some quartz, yo. I just
Yeah.
have mad gold
But,
and like crystals and like
The intention
Gold.
is good. A watch has quartz in it, and I normally don't wear my watch. And for the past few days, I had an event on Sunday, and I made a point to like wear my watch. It's little subtle things I've been thinking about, more conscious of my accessories and things like that. Not even putting together that it's because you need to be arming yourself in the midst of this celestial storm that's occurring. So
When's the next retrograde?
they always surprise me. It's like out of nowhere.
Hey, it's like the sun just came up.
Exactly.
Maybe Mercury just moved its ass a little bit. So
Out of nowhere, boom. So the most important thing is this is also a time to reflect. This is a time to finish what you started, not to start anew. You got going on. Close it. You may find friendships and relationships finally closing or opening. Like everybody in your life, it's like a checkpoint. Like, are you here or not? You may find yourself feeling like ultimatums. Like ultimately, like you know what? That's it, and go with it. When Mercury's in retrograde, just know that it's a time to reflect. It's a time to look at what you have. It's a time to kind of go back over what you've been doing, reflect, and in your actions be proactive, because we know when we're being snarky. We are the masters of sarcasm and shade and backwards insults.
Shadecraft.
get out of my head, lady.
Shadecraft is real. And like
Shadecraft.
Shout out to Adrienne Marie Brown for that term.
just being careful not to do that right now. Now is not the time to put that out, because it will come right back at you, and you can't fight it no matter how
Why
right
didn't you
you
tell me
are.
that yesterday?
It's a way that you have to communicate, and I've found how much my words can cut. I'm like, man, I can't,
For
because
real.
anything, it's gonna come right back, and you're gonna look like that no matter how right you are. It's
Yeah,
so
because I know
messed
my
up.
shade was right.
Yeah, well, your intention, but the
energy we're creating.
Yeah.
It's positive and professional, though.
Hey man, it's
Speak
a
for
crazy
yourself.
time. It is a crazy time. It's so.
Well, thank you for enlightening us on that, Jay. I think all of us feel a little bit relieved that it's not us.
It's them. It's totally not you. It's everybody else.
Yes.
In this case, it's not you. It's them.
Well, I want to introduce our viewers to our two very special Libra and Aquarius
Yes.
in Mercury retrograde guests today. Please clap your hands at home, for real, right now. Clap your hands. For these two amazing DC women and leaders, I'd like to introduce you to Jessica Raven. How you doing, Jessica?
I'm good. Thank you for having me tonight.
We're so happy to have you. And please welcome the fabulous Chantal Coudoux. How you doing?
Super excited to be here.
We love having you both here.
Indeed.
And these two amazing, fashionable, just powerful women are the leaders of Collective Action for Safe Spaces DC, an awesome nonprofit here that is working to expose stories that women have and build community and create really a safe haven for women and femmes alike to be safe and get away, and they're going to explain it more to us. But if we can get that website up for them in the near future, that'd be awesome. Please definitely visit their website to learn more about them. But Queens, tell us, when did Collective Action for Safe Spaces start here in DC? It's a relatively new organization, right?
Fairly. It actually started as Hollaback DC back in 2009.
Oh,
yeah. I know. A lot of people
wow.
don't make the connection, and I don't always often highlight it. It was a very different organization back then, mostly focused on getting folks to share their stories, their personal experiences with street harassment in DC. And we have evolved to do a lot more work beyond that. So CAS, Hollaback DC became CAS in 2012. And that at that point started doing workshops on how to respond to street harassment, how to intervene if you witness someone else experiencing it, and started doing a lot more advocacy with WMATA, because we recognized that public transit was a place where a lot of people were experiencing harassment, because it's also a space where you're easily isolated. It's not easy to get away if you're on board a train or on board a bus. So people were being groped. There were a lot of incidents of public masturbation, Can you speak to that?
Oh yes, it's happened to me.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it was everything that you said. I was isolated. There was nobody else on that train. I sat down, and this guy came and sat down like in the place right across from me. I was going out to organize a worker way out in Langley Park, and
So you on the green line?
no, I was on the blue line.
Blue line too.
I was on the blue line. And
I didn't even know there was a blue line.
red light, red line life, green line life, right?
I don't ride the metro.
Oh, you ride your bike.
I ride my bike.
This is a bike rider
I'm
here.
a bike rider, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this was years ago. I was riding the metro, blue line, all the way out to the end to meet up with a worker, talk about, increasing their wages and standing up for paid sick days in the workplace. And it was at like noon, broad daylight, I wouldn't think that anything like that would have happened in broad daylight. But so I was comfortable. I like started to like take a little nap or whatever. And then like after a while, I felt that something was
Shaking
wrong.
of the
Yeah,
train car.
I heard this like I heard this rhythmic sound, and it was not the train.
Fapping.
And it took and I was aware of it. My eyes were still closed, but I felt something was wrong, and I was almost afraid to open my eyes and see what was happening. And eventually I did, because I was like, I can't stay paralyzed here like this. And I looked over, and he was looking at me dead in the eye and jacking off right in the middle of the day. And I was horrified and scared. I couldn't say anything. It was just open mouth silence. And I got off on the very next stop and ran to like a metro security person, but dude was already gone, by the time. But like I definitely had PTSD for quite a while. I if I saw anyone that looked like him, like I was afraid it was him, and not that he touched me or anything like that, but it was just like, I thought this shit only happened in like New York. That doesn't happen here in Washington D.C. for real. So, and it's happened in the library to me twice, also public libraries, 3 times. Some random ass person has masturbated while staring at me publicly, and I'm not flattered. It's gross.
No.
And the sad thing about it is that I feel like it's like a mental health issue as well. I don't know.
Sometimes it's actual sexual aggression, and sometimes there are other layers. People are experiencing homelessness, that people have mental health issues, and these are other issues that we are not addressing as a city, as a country, and should be. And so that's part of the problem. I mean, the only approach to deal with these incidents historically has been criminalization. And so often people are masturbating on the metro or do something sexually aggressive on the metro or in public spaces, and the only response is to arrest them. And for public masturbation, they're in jail for a night, they're back out the next day. You're not going to go to jail forever for public masturbation. And they do the same thing the next day. And so we've seen, especially this year, so many stories of people who have been arrested 20, 50, 70 times for public masturbation. And I think it gets to the point you're making, which is, we're not addressing this problem in the right way. There need to be other approaches. And so actually now DC is considering a more public health approach to addressing sexual violence on a citywide level, and that's what's needed. Yeah.
How come you get popped with like a bag of weed on the south side and you can go to jail and you have to go to court and you like have your life fucked for 2 years, but you can just like whip your dick out on the metro 70 times and there's no like repercussions for that? Like,
Nope.
Really shows you, in case anybody was, missing, that the drug war was incredibly oppressive and racist and planned. Just a friendly reminder from the MNM Show there. That's crazy that you can get arrested 50 or 70 times for any fucking thing and just walk around. I mean, it gives me low-key hope.
It also makes me think like we should know by now that this doesn't work.
Right.
There is nothing rehabilitative about prison, and if anything, people are coming out of jail more aggressive. Yeah.
Right.
Now we
And
really want
so
to
we need another way.
Yeah.
I don't think that's helping. helping in any way. How could this the solution for that be isolation?
Right.
Seems
Yeah.
like that would make you masturbate more.
Exactly.
It
Saying.
would make
And
me.
and
I
instead,
know. Just thinking
yeah.
about, oh God, now you can't be seeing any men. I gotta think about it and do.
What
this.
else is
What
there
am I
to
gonna
do?
do?
Yeah.
No, it's so horrible. I think it really comes from a lot of repression, as well as the general objectification of a woman and her body and her body parts, and this idea that if you can see it, then it's yours.
It's yours, yeah.
Flat out, you know. And it's like that well, if she didn't want me to, then why have this lipstick on? Why have this gloss on? Why have this skirt on? Why have your hair out? Why be beautiful? Why have your makeup on? Why wear heels?
Why smile?
Why smile? Why not just, cover yourself up so that nobody can see anything? And then but we know now from countries where that happens that even then
Still.
you're still not safe. So
Right.
I really do think that repression leads to obsession, and we are looking at the symptoms of a country that was founded on Puritans. Flat out,
Straight
I think
up.
about going to other countries where, we have certain luxuries. I love to talk about wearing a bra in America versus outside of this country, a bra, underwear, the type of things that we wear to keep our bodies covered, contained. They don't exist. And it took a while to kind of get used to that. Like, I'm just seeing things, and it was a reset, but
Yeah.
nobody is getting groped, nobody is doing anything. I mean, I don't know. I feel that maybe cold weather kind of can bring out a very barbaric nature in men.
Nah,
Because-
the most incidents happen in the summertime, so that
Yeah,
doesn't
it
even
happens in
explain
the
it.
summertime
Yeah,
because
I mean-
they don't see the skins. I see how it is up north. As soon as it starts getting warm, they're like, oh, sundresses. Oh my God, the skins is coming out. Oh, I see toes.
And even
Ah,
then, I wouldn't
like-
even say it's related to what women wear or what anyone wears. It's about the fact that people are just outside more and more likely to interact with other people. And we have an overarching rape culture, and there
Oh,
are
yeah.
cultures in the world that are not rape cultures,
Yes.
and they are not founded on rigid gender norms. And ours is not one of them.
And they also
Tell me
don't
where that
wear
place is.
underwear
I
or
want to go.
panties in those countries. One would say they were tribal, uncivilized. So with the weight of this civilization is causing monstrous activity. It's horrible. Like, sex is supposed to be celebrated. That's how you make a baby. Why is it that because a woman is sexy, she's supposed to be disrespected? Why do you think that rape is like something that you only get a couple years in jail for? Like, come on.
Or
Humans
none.
come from here. Why do you even get more time for sodomy than rape? Babies don't come from buttholes. What's going on here? What's
Wisdom
really going
nugget.
on?
Real
Like,
talk.
I'm just saying, what is going on with us? The fact that, public masturbation? Are you serious? Is that what you think your dick is for? You think, what the hell is wrong with these men?
There's a lot of
You
rage.
have to
There's
make
a lot of
so
rage.
know of yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I'm constantly in conflict because on one hand, I'm like, this is so, what the fuck is wrong with men? What is wrong with them? And why is it that 1 in 5 women will experience sexual assault and 1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence? On the other hand, I'm the mother of a boy and I see what he experiences on a daily basis. I see the way that even at the supermarket, there will be cashiers who will say, oh, well, you want flag stickers? Do you want flower stickers? Boys don't like flowers. I see the ways that he's socialized to like some things and to dominate and to, he's been called a pimp. He, again, 3 years old.
Wow.
For, and I
It's
told,
so we
Yeah.
raise them this way.
We do.
In every and they're constantly encountering this, where they're taught to dominate, to
yeah.
It's about
to
power.
And it's two things that are
And that's-
taught. Yeah, I had this situation with my son. Got upset at this little girl and he kicked at her or something and hit her. And he also had a really huge crush on the girl. He really likes her a lot, So the
So
situation,
tell
I'm
everybody how old he
being
is.
very stern.
How old is he?
He's 4.
4, right.
She's 6. So she wasn't tripping off the kick too much. She didn't want him to get in trouble. At this very young age, I started to realize certain dynamics. What her mother said to her, hey, he just likes you. You need to be nice to him.
Oh,
Don't be so mean
gosh.
to him. And I think of how many little girls are taught that at that young age. And also what the men learn, what the little boys are learning. That, well, if you like a girl, you hit her,
be
you
mean to
disrespect
her.
her. And little girl, the boys that hit you and disrespect you, they like
They
you.
like you.
So be
Yeah.
nice to them. If that's what happens, you're not supposed to react in anger.
That's what
you're
I was
supposed
taught.
to just,
That's what you were taught?
Don't be
Yeah.
so mean. And I was
Yeah.
like, wait, when her mother said that, I'm like, I'm sorry, but no. If he kicks you, you have every right to get upset. You need to fight him back. It is not okay. Even if he likes you, it is never okay. And like, man,
Yeah.
the
Yep.
what? It's just crazy. Like, I feel you, like, just seeing that other side of that and how men are socialized. I don't have to worry about losing my femininity.
Right.
Never. I don't care what I do, who I do. I'm never going to not be, but a man is just one action away from not being a man. And if that idea of manhood is just dangerously wrapped in rape culture, that's where you have this what's going on right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, man,
Yeah.
just unpacking the layers. Because you're right. Like, how do we can't start at masturbation. Like, gosh, and what you guys are doing is so important because women got to speak up. It does start there. We have been taught not to. We've been taught to be quiet.
Cass used to have that view that women need to speak up. Women need to, assertively respond to sexual harassment. And I don't think that's enough. I don't think there's anything that women can do to protect ourselves from sexual harassment and sexual assault. It starts with men. It starts with changing men's behaviors and making them realize we've been socialized this way and we need to change. We need to take responsibility for our actions. And also it hurts men too. I mean, I don't think that men feel whole when they dominate and engage in violence against women or people who are more marginalized than them. I think that there is a lot that men want healthy relationships too, I think, and they're missing out on all of that opportunity to like be able to express their emotions when they're told from young ages, don't cry when you fall and get hurt.
I read this article, I shared it, and I got several men that sent me private Facebook messages about how they were just rocked by it, and it was about how men are suffering from a lack of touch. And how, like, girls, we see our girl, we hug. It's okay for us to hug, and we don't even think about how openly we can hug. And really, shout outs to Molly and Molly's hugs.
I'm a hugger.
Long hugger, yo.
Yeah.
Like, we can give that, and men can't. Unless it's their girlfriend. They are so trapped in being able to physically touch somebody. It's either violence or sex for them to get this contact. And I mean, there's so many things that's playing. I'm not making excuses at all. I'm just like,
if you're a
this
guy,
is what
you
is.
can't, even if you're a friend, like you can't linger too long on that hug.
You gotta
before it
kinda-
becomes
or
unsafe.
Even like we
you
all
know?
had heard in middle school and high school, no homo. Like if they
Right.
dare to touch each other,
Yeah, they can't even share
perhaps
that
they're
someone
gay.
another.
Yeah.
And also, what's wrong with that?
right.
Wow.
I want to bring the conversation because we started off on like the top. This is what's going on. These are all the problems. But I want to bring it back to the personal level and know how, if you're a woman or a man who's thinking about any of this, like how you can start talking about it or get involved. So I'm curious to know y'all's story. Chantal, how did you come to be involved with collective action of safe spaces? What led you to be able to speak up about these type of conditions?
Yeah. Well, I met Jessica, and I was just really, the work is really powerful to me. It's something that, I think about on a daily, and I also think about, I think you said, when a little boy kicked a little girl, she didn't want to get him in trouble, right? And so I think a lot about how do we find solutions where, particularly because, the idea of like punishment or getting someone in trouble, we know the police like the police don't work, right? They don't work for
Anyone.
They don't work.
Particularly for folks of color, for trans folks, for survivors of gendered violence. They don't work, right? So how do we have solutions that are really trauma informed and centered on survivors, that don't involve the state that we know is not, the state as in like state violence, as in the criminal legal system. How do we have those? And so I was just really overwhelmed with the power of the work that Cass was doing, and so
You got involved.
Yeah, I got involved. Exactly.
You just made that step. You were like, hey, I'm here. I want to volunteer. I want to help. Or how can I apply? What can I do?
She's basically on staff for like 6 months, and now she's our deputy director.
Hey.
And we actually pay her now.
Yes.
That is so awesome.
Moving up the nonprofit ladder.
It's always great to get paid. It's always great to get paid.
What's that like?
Yes. So I want to ask you, Molly, actually, because you're somebody that over the years been watching on Facebook that has spoken out when you've seen women unjustly treated, or when you see rape culture in the media or here at local DC bars and stuff. What gives you the strength or inspires you to like talk about it and speak out? Because talking about these issues is really hard for a lot of people because of the trauma that they face, or because of the way they're raised. So what kind of makes you fiery?
Anger, just straight up anger. Yeah, I mean, well, I was fortunate to live a life that I didn't suffer any abuse, like especially as a woman. I wasn't subject to anything quite like that.
Yay.
Like I had a dysfunctional family in our own way, and abusive at times, albeit, but not in that way. And so and I never really experienced any I had a kind of a toxic abusive relationship and then a really abusive relationship, and I found myself like having to get a restraining order, and no one liked him. And then when I broke up with him, everyone continued to talk to him, even though I asked them not to. And like I had to really, say, hey, it's really a problem. I'm getting a restraining order. And no one believed me. Or people just didn't want to take sides. And a lot of people chose to hang out with him afterwards until he like stole from them or like, showed his ass, you know what I mean? Which I had protected them all from.
That's that male privilege right there.
Yeah. And so, no one believed me. No one believed me. My family wasn't there at all. In fact, the last time I spoke to my father was a week after I filed the restraining order, and he was screaming at me about his website. And that's literally the last time I spoke to him. So I just really experienced what it's like to have gone through something like that and just not be believed. And fuck that, because every woman is being fucked with on some level. So like, I believe you. Yeah. I believe you. There have been times when situations have arisen and like, not every story is true. Okay. Right. Not every story is true, but there is like a small sliver of stories that are not true. And then there's a giant fucking pie of stories that are, and everybody always wants to default to the one that's not true. And that's bullshit.
Literally 0.5% of stories are not true.
And I've dealt with one of them. So I'm not like a firm, like, no, the woman's always right. Like,
it really sucks.
Yeah.
I wish there was some type of crime
for
women who purposely lie about it. But it's hard because what's the difference between lying and not being able to prove the truth is what I'm sure some would toy on.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason why I'm not like really like, if it comes out that you lied,
done.
But
Done.
Honestly, I don't even mind. The odds are that men have generally engaged in these behaviors.
No, I know someone who flat
we both
out
do actually.
Yeah,
so,
same person, same situation.
Yeah. It's
totally fabricated something and tried to get people to agree just because of who we were.
Jeopardizing so much for so many people so selfishly.
Out of anger.
Out of anger.
It was just like, what?
So,
like,
so
as a survivor,
right.
it makes me so mad.
Yeah, nothing makes me
like,
angrier.
for real, dog? Oh, my gosh.
Like, men who are abusive make me angry, and women who lie about men being abusive make me even angrier because they take away the rights of actual victims.
You make it so hard.
But let's not focus on that because it is literally a sliver of what's out there. It is a sliver. It's just ironic that we both know, but the same situation. But it's a sliver, and I mean, people, you know, I will say this. I've got nothing but support for being super vocal, and like, I'm not afraid. Like, fuck with me. Like, I'm afraid of the guy who abused me, but I'm not afraid of anybody else. You know what I mean? And so like, I can be strong for those women, and like, I can do that, and I'm cool with that. Like, I don't mind. I've gone on a couple campaigns to shut down like known rapists. Like, I'll do whatever I can, you know, to help out because it fucking matters. You know what I mean? And I've never gotten anything but support. I'll never forget Eric Soup Campbell. He's a friend of mine on Facebook who I've met one time. I've been friends with him for a number of years. And the time that I actually met him, he said, "Hey, I got to say to you, I see everything that you say on Facebook, and please don't stop having those conversations, those thoughts, because it's making me have conversations with my male friends that I've never had before. And like, you're creating so much change by being this way. Like, don't let anybody intimidate you. Like, don't stop fighting. Like, you're really and this is a guy who's like, you know, like a nice, solid, regular dude. So just knowing that, like, even from afar on Facebook, seeing that if it's sparking any conversations about consent or anything fucking productive that's not Kim Kardashian or something that doesn't fucking matter, you know what I mean? Like, if it's sparking some conversation about like what is consent, like how do we deal with this, we're getting there. And now that the Me Too thing has come out, everyone getting a lot of messages going like, okay, now I understand why you're so angry. And I'm like, yeah, because this Me Too shit is not fucking new. It's new to you motherfuckers, but it's not new to me. It's not new to Jay. You know, it's not new to anybody at this table. It's just new to a bunch of fucking men. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only one who's shocked right now. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's weird, but if you know, a little bit of indication, it's like, yeah, man, you guys just thought I was just angry all the fucking time. Like, you don't think it stems from all the private conversations I'm having with women all week, you know? And I'm sure, I don't even know how you guys deal with it, because I've now become kind of that pillar for people, so they come to me. So I can't even imagine the amount of energy and just like fucking heartache and like just horrible shit that you guys must like absorb, you know, and have to be that light going back. Like, mad props, mad respect to both of you and everyone in the organization, because it's important, but it's hard. It's hard work, man. It's hard.
It's a lot too, like being a survivor and also like hearing stories every single day, because they're happening every single day. It's a lot, but it's also, I think that finally we're able to, I mean, a lot of people feel empowered by being able to get involved in advocacy, to get involved in training people on how to intervene, how to respond. And I think exactly what you said, like just sharing things on social media, doing those little, like speaking out in conversations with your friend groups, your neighbors, your family members, like the people in your communities. That is so significant. And that's what really needs to be happening. We all 100%. Need to be having those conversations every single day about the things that seem that they're not so severe, you know, like it's not always about rape. It's sometimes it's rape jokes. Sometimes it's like really, you know, insignificant sexist comments or sexual comments that we brush off every single day.
Not me.
I'm
really good at pointing
right.
I've lost friends who've made rape jokes and stuff. I'm like, it's not fucking funny.
Yeah, there's nothing
It's not
funny ever.
You know, and sometimes I'm just like, well, fuck you, I'm out.
Yeah.
'Cause, like, I'm not tolerating that kind of shit.
And that is so important. Setting that boundary. I mean, like, we've come so far in being able to set boundaries in those everyday interactions. Because I know I grew up in New York City. It's funny that you mentioned, like, you know, this isn't New York and public masturbation shouldn't be happening on the metro. Like, I grew up in New York. And I was like, yeah, public masturbation is always on the metro. It's very weird. You know, I've been like sexually harassed on the street, on the metro, all over the place since I was like 11, 12 years old, because that's just like life in New York, walking down the street in New York. And so you internalize that, you normalize that, you think this is just what it's like to be outside. And
like birds are chirping.
Right. I was like, hey, mommy. Okay, great. This is my day. And
it's cold up there.
I mean, it happens in the country too. It's just not on public transit. It's just like a creepy car will follow you walking down the road and things like that, you know, and then you're isolated where sometimes people aren't watching too.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens everywhere. There
Everywhere.
is no space that's safe. I mean, you said it happens in libraries. It happens. I've gotten calls about it happening in the church. Like, it happens
It
everywhere.
happens on
There
your
is
phone,
the
and you get a
church is like a
random dick
hotbed
pic
for
that you don't
inappropriate
want.
behavior.
no space that's immune.
Random dick pics belong with public masturbation.
Absolutely.
It's just as offensive.
Unsolicited like
Yeah.
shit.
So
Anything that's not consensual.
absolutely, which I saw on your Facebook page, the really awesome Jimmy Kimmel. Was it Jimmy Kimmel? The clip with Tracy Lee Ross and with her
What to do with
children's
the
book.
Oh my God, I
yes,
loved
the
it
Mr.
so much.
Hansy. That was really
A
awesome.
children's book for adults, though. Adult men
Yes.
who still don't get it.
Yeah. So definitely check out Collective Action for Safe Spaces. Like them on Facebook. Follow them. They've got some really awesome posts on there. Speaking of which, there was one I was looking on today where they had a graphic by a quote by Margot St. James. If y'all can show that for us. Tell us a little bit about who is Margot St. James and how prostitution and the punishment of that adds to the general criminalization of women's bodies and their rights or lack thereof.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that sex work is criminalized, that it's a crime to engage in consensual sex if it's in exchange for money or any other thing, like, that says a lot about the way that we think about sex and the way that we think about women's work. So that, you know, I can't remember exactly what the quote is, but it's essentially, and I think it's particularly relevant right now as we're talking about sexual harassment in the workplace. Like, this is a workplace we're still not getting to. The fact that sex workers are experiencing sexual assault, particularly by police officers, all the time because their work is criminalized. They are particularly vulnerable because of the criminalization of
They
their
could
work.
just get swooped up anytime for no damn reason.
And have that their work, the way that they're surviving, used against them. And officers will say, either you do this or you're going to jail tonight. And it happens all the time, and it's just not talked about enough. And there is a lot of even controversy about the idea of decriminalizing sex work. People are afraid that, if we decriminalize sex work, then more people will get involved in sex work. We'll see it more often.
I hope so.
I mean, who cares either way? I think the issue is, like, there is this broader conflation of sex work with sex trafficking. And so people think, well, women would never engage in sexual exchange for money on their own. I mean, they have to be manipulated by some man to do. And it says a lot about, like, what we think, like, whether or not we think women can be sexual or should be sexual. And so, yeah, so there's a broader conflation of sex work and sex trafficking. People think that all sex workers are being trafficked, and so there is a lot of resistance to the idea of criminalizing their work. But the people who are most likely to be punished for engaging in survival sex work are people who are experiencing homelessness, especially women of color, especially Black trans women who are likely to experience discrimination in the workforce. I mean, here in DC, 55% of Black trans adults are unemployed, and 48% have experienced employment, or 48% of DC employers would prefer a cisgender applicant over a less qualified cisgender applicant over a more qualified transgender applicant. So a lot of people.
How do you come up with those stats? Like,
Yeah, it was actually the DC Office of Human Rights that did a study in 2017, actually just this past year, that released that data.
where employers actually said, I would prefer a cisgender.
No. I don't think anybody says that, but basically the way they did it was they submit, an application with a, I think, like, feminine name.
Oh, they just do,
and,
like, secret runs, basically.
Right, exactly. Sending
Mark has
people.
done studies like that before.
Yeah, that's how they
sent
found out.
applicants different in, and then you measure who gets talked to and who gets a potential hire back, and you send in random people to different places and track it.
So, like,
Same resume.
certain
Yeah.
identities are being rejected from the workplace overall, and not able to access housing, and so that one thing that they're able to do to survive is often sex work or criminalized work, and then they're sent to jail for it, punished for surviving.
You know, I was having slightly veering just a little bit, but it's something that I thought of earlier when you were talking about sex work and getting paid for it. And the G-Eazy Cardi B song that's out right now, Fuck With Me and Get Some Money. You know that song.
Fuck them then and get some money.
Yes. So I was talking to my husband.
like how you
Shout
had that
out,
on
Chris.
deck.
Love you. And we were talking about how we love the song. We love the beat, you know. But then he commented, he was like, the only thing I don't like is that, you know, the guys say, fuck with me and get some money. But then Cardi B says, fuck him, then I get some money. And I was like, well, I like that she says that. Because that's her being her, and why not get money after sex if that's what your intention and your goal is?
Because first things first, you get the money first. That's first. She's giving bad advice. You don't fuck them, then you get the money. You get the money, and then you fuck them. That's one.
Another wisdom nugget.
Wisdom
We
nugget
get a wisdom
by
nugget
Jay Mills.
graphic, man. Like, seriously.
It's coming 2018.
That's right.
I'm just-
the year of the wisdom nugget.
It's coming
Have
2018.
a calendar.
Yes. How many wisdom nuggets a year can we
Nugget
a
buckets,
days
yo.
can we fill up? But yeah, you know, I even though it may be to different people that lyric or whatever may make them feel like, oh, she's a hoe or something like that. I'm like, no, I think it's empowering. I like that she said that. And then she goes on to assert, I need tongue, I need face, give me brain, concentrate. You know, it's like from a assertive place of what she wants and is demanding. Shout out to Cardi B.
And Little Kim.
And Little Kim. Yes, yes.
Kim
who
was a
made
pimp,
it.
not a whore.
Yes.
Shout outs to Hips, helping independent prostitutes survive. Dope nonprofit also, you know. But you know, that's a whole nother talk show. But
It is.
game to be sold, never told.
So we should talk about like safe spaces. I know. It's always great when Jay says something ridiculous, it's just to watch Nikki's face immediately after. It's like
Teach people
it's
how to
comedy
pimp themselves.
gold.
Don't do it.
It's great.
Get the money first.
So safe spaces, to clarify too, you guys do work with bars, right?
Yeah.
So that's what particularly interests me, and I'm sure Nikki as well, because Nikki talks about her experience in the bars all the time.
Let's talk about it.
But yeah, so if you're a bar owner, which if you're one of my friends who's listening, you might very well be a bar owner. You should get your space safely certified. So could you guys tell us a little bit more about what that means for DC bars and restaurants if you're listening?
Can you get safe certified through? Oh, that's dope. I
Yeah.
didn't even realize
Oh,
that.
shit.
I want to be a safe
Every
space.
restaurant needs to and bar needs to get safe certified.
That's right. You heard it here,
is
folks.
One of the number one places where women and men and LGBT community face sexual harassment from management, from consumers, from their own coworkers and themselves is just like a part of the film that covers the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
How can a motherfucker get certified?
So, Safe Bar Collective does a number of things. One is training, and you get certified. So, we do bystander intervention training for DC agencies, but Safe Bar Collective is particularly focused on bars and restaurants and nightlife, as you said.
You said different agencies, so like any business can be a safe space.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We should get a safe
Yeah.
space certification
Absolutely.
here.
But we won't train any business because we have definitely gotten a lot of requests from businesses, bars actually, that have had incidents and have tried to come to us for damage control, and that is not how this works.
You can't come afterwards. You
Trying to
gotta
cover
come-
up the dirt.
Yeah, I mean, so
Doesn't work like
Right.
that. Motherfuckers.
So anyone can who comes at it from a place of
actually want to make their space.
I want to make
Sincerity.
One
Yes,
Love
absolutely.
a safe space.
Yeah.
I want to have that sticker on the front door.
Yeah.
yeah.
I want mine on the J Suite.
We have currently 40 bar and restaurant partners. So actually a lot in Shaw. So all the drink company bars. Shout out to
Derek
Derek
Brown.
Brown and Angie Featherston, who have been
Hey,
amazing
hey.
partners. And
I'm actually
you
going
know,
there.
Isn't NRG? Doesn't NRG have a lot of safe spaces?
Energy, that doesn't
Neighborhood
sound
restaurant
familiar.
group, Hazel, Church Key.
Oh, Church Key. They were
Yeah.
our first. Church Key and Birch and
Yeah.
Barley were our first partner bars.
Awesome.
Yeah.
They're in Shaw's Tavern, 801. A number of bars in this area, plus all the distilleries. DC Brow's been an amazing partner.
We should put a list up.
Number
Could you send us
9.
a
Yeah,
list?
we'll send you a list.
And we'll
But-
add it to the broadcast so people can support those businesses
Exactly.
for being progressive
Absolutely.
with their
Exactly.
shit.
And basically, the idea behind it is, the studies show that 50% of sexual assaults and physical assaults involve the use of alcohol. And that doesn't mean that alcohol causes sexual assault. That means that people are taking advantage of those nightlife environments where people are vulnerable because they're intoxicated. And it's dark, it might be crowded. I mean, it's kind of similar to public transit in some ways. People are just taking advantage of the environment and preying on people who are vulnerable to engage in sexually aggressive behaviors. And there are some behaviors that have come to be seen as normal in bars and restaurants, in nightlife, in nightclubs. And
Getting grabbed, getting your
Between
ass
yeah,
smacked.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's among staff and among patrons.
Yes.
It goes in all kinds of directions. We hear all kinds of stories when we do these trainings. And so bar and restaurant staff are taught to intervene to prevent these incidents from happening. And studies also show that the environment around an aggressor can change their behavior. So the incidents are less likely to happen if we have bar and restaurant staff calling out those everyday incidents of, unwanted comments, or, if they recognize that someone is coming on to someone who is turning away, or, trying to make eye contact elsewhere, like showing subtle body language that they're not interested. Bar staff is taught to intervene in those situations to cut it off early on, and it prevents those more severe incidents from happening in the first place. And so, every bar that we train gets a sticker to put out front, and we encourage people to go to those bars, support those bars.
For sure.
And we also think bars that are not serious about making their spaces safe, whether it's that staff or management is engaging in sexually aggressive behaviors themselves, by training the good bars, we're working to put those bars out of business, because they're not going to change. There are a lot of bars in the city that they have no intention of changing their behaviors.
No.
And we can't keep going there.
Yeah. Because I've worked in so many bars and restaurants, and the attitude of a lot of managers or the owners of companies, the attitude is still, the customer is always right. And so if you are verbally or physically assaulted by a customer, which I have been countless times, I can tell you only two times that manager stood up for me and asked that person to leave. Otherwise, it was trying to massage that guest to make sure that they would feel comfortable to stay there and keep spending money, because the bottom line is more important than the dignity and safety of their staff, and that needs to change on just a human to human level, but on a economic understanding as well, because that kind of behavior reinforces, particularly for women who make up 70% of the restaurant industry, that we're not as valuable, our lives aren't as valuable to stand up for, that patron's $20 is more important than our own safety. And on top of the fact that, as you know very well, Chantal, the restaurant industry is notorious for having 9 out of the 12 lowest paid positions of jobs in the entire United States country. And that's, again, a lot of women of color, and immigrants too. So it just, it's multi-layered. How it impacts people's self-worth, their identity, stereotypes that get reinforced, on all kinds of levels. And I'm fucking tired of it, straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's multi-layered, and we talk a lot about that in the trainings, right? It's not about sex, it's about power, right? And so you, folks who are exhibiting aggressive behaviors are, people have multiple vulnerabilities, multiple identities that add to people exerting that power.
Yeah, and that's actually how Chantal came to work with Cass originally, because we started to see it's not just sexual harassment. I mean, from folks who were going, especially queer people of color, going to Number 9 and Trade and Nellie's, all of these bars that are now partner bars because their owners are taking safety seriously. They were experiencing a lot of racist microaggressions from white gays. So it wasn't just sexual harassment, but also discrimination against trans people of color. The data that I cited earlier, the discrimination was highest in the restaurant industry. And so we were seeing like the problem of sexual harassment, to talk about it as sexual harassment, it's almost missing the point. Like to focus on sex, because it's not about sex, it's not about romance, it's about power, and power, dynamics manifest in a number of different ways. So that we ended up building a sub-program to not only train bar and restaurant staff and certify them, but we are now connecting trans people of color in the city who are facing unemployment, who are turning to sex work because there are no other options, with employment options in our partner bars. And so Chantal actually trained our first cohort of trans people of color who started working in bars and restaurants in the city.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because in the whole Me Too campaign, or like the public conversation about sexual harassment and accountability, I feel like trans, queer, gay, lesbian, like I feel like they're left out of the conversation a lot of times.
People of color a lot of times.
Yeah. I mean, the woman who founded it wasn't recognized for a long time.
Right. And the only women of color who came out, the actresses who came out who were women of color, were the only ones who had their stories denied or disbelieved, like Lupita Nyong'o and Aurora Perrineau from Girls. I mean, they were the only ones whose accounts were denied.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of similarities between the restaurant industry and the entertainment industry.
Talk about it.
And the biggest thing is this expectation that there's an acceptance of this. This is how it works in this industry. This is what you signed up for. I was thinking about, with movies and with a bartender, when you think in your mind about a barkeep, you think about a female bartender. There's a very specific look that you get in your mind.
She's got beautiful hair,
buxom,
boobs,
you're gonna see exactly, and that is
great smile.
And when you think of a movie star, you think of Marilyn Monroe, you think of this beauty and this body and what comes along with it. This expectation that your body's a commodity. It's what's for sale. It's what people are paying for. Sex sells. And yeah, being a bartender or a waitress with that's top heavy. There's literally a restaurant called Hooters.
I do not want to say its name out.
Like, it's so objectified in both of these industries that your body is on display and it's for pay. Like straight up, people are paying money
sex work
to look at your pictures. All the same thing. You signed up for this, and I'm getting to this because there are so many women who enable it in this industry as well. And I've been thinking about my metaphysical message and just how we as women have got to get on one accord with this thing right here. Because as you said, like, we can't stop ourselves from being raped. Like, trying to fight that is not even a fight that we can have. But women need to agree that rape is wrong no matter what. And oftentimes men get this first inkling from a woman, like going back to being a mother of a son and how we say you respect these kind of women and you disrespect those kind of women. Don't bring them home. I don't want to see them. Don't do this. Don't love them hoes. Don't do dump, blah, blah. They will be the first ones to give their sons this. Like, I've just heard it and I've seen it. And now at my age, when I see it being perpetuated, I'm like, and this is how you make a monster. Wow.
I wouldn't be particularly hard on women, but I do think I agree with you that patriarchy affects us all. And we all have to recognize the ways that we are engaging in patriarchal or racist or
that's
sexist
a great way
or
of putting it.
other behaviors that are violent, because and we all, I think, have to be very conscious of our privileges. So, as a cis woman, I have to be particularly conscious of the ways that I may make, if I am engaging in transphobic behaviors, I need to be particularly conscious. I'm a non-Black woman of color. I need to be particularly conscious of the way that these same problems affect Black women in a different way than they affect me. We all have to recognize our privileges and uplift those who are more marginalized than we are.
And I want to say this, particularly because in the restaurant industry, it's and the entertainment industry, it's a lot of women of all ages, but there are a lot of young women too. And I think about myself when I was in my 20s, just trying to learn how to navigate the world, figure out my own power and my own sexuality, try to date people and attract people and learn what I thought was sexy and comfortable. Like, there were definitely days when I had my titties out too, like at the club, bartending at the bar, because I knew that was going to help attract and get me more money. And I tell you, I used to work at Indie Blue downtown. They're closed now, but I'd wear a corset to work. I look professional with black pants and everything, but I'd wear a corset there. I tripled the bar revenue. Yes, I did. And and I needed to, because I wasn't being paid anything. I never got a paycheck there. So I completely depended on my tips, and I'm trying to pay $1,400 in rent, at that time, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And, it's not that I didn't respect myself or love myself, but I think, going through sexual assault and trauma and trying to figure that all out, I have changed my behavior. I've learned to speak out about things and create boundaries for myself. But as a young woman, a lot of times I don't think we all know how to do that. We're trying to figure out how to do it. And still also, like, have some fun and joy and not be in fear, and find love and have sex and experiment with all that. It's a very
confusing landscape.
Yeah. And so how do we uplift, the women who may be
should.
reinforcing?
No matter what you
Unintentionally.
wear, it doesn't matter. That doesn't mean rape. Like, at no point ever does your yes override my no. Like, no point. I say that because, like, many women may think, like, and there's different levels to it, from if it's somebody you're dating, if it's your husband, if it's this and that. There are many, like, oh, well, not, and it's crazy. Like, so taking it back to when I talk to men about it, and they start to frustrate me, I use a metaphor they can understand. They're a man of color, with police brutality, and how frustrating it is to them when someone starts preaching respectability politics. Because the ultimate thing is, like, it doesn't matter if I'm wearing a hoodie or not.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have shot me. Like,
Right.
what the fuck?
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
You sound exactly the same. Like, well, why were you wearing that? Like, what if that's really what we did? What if you looked at it the same way? Because the damage you do to a woman when you take something that's sacred is you took her life. She's not the
Yes,
same no more.
never.
Flat out. You basically
Yeah.
killed a whole part of her. She will be better, beautiful, different. But the thing is, who she was before that
Is
God.
never
who she-
the same.
So
Never.
it's not. And that seriousness is not given. It's like there's this, they don't see it. But
Yeah.
I love metaphors for that reason. When you start to look at it like that, to see, like,
Yeah.
oh, well, yeah, no, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if I drink a little. It doesn't matter if he sold a cigarette. It doesn't matter if
Yeah.
my shirt was was short. It doesn't matter
If you paid
if
for
it
a
was a
hotel
toy gun.
room.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
and it doesn't even have to be a metaphor,
matter.
because so many women of color
It doesn't
experience police violence and still experience that same,
Yeah,
like,
we
oh,
struggle.
well,
And we gotta fight that too.
who was the Baltimore, I think, was Charlena Lyles?
Yes.
Who was holding a gun to protect her family when the police
Yes.
came in, and it was like, well,
And she was
why was she
pregnant.
holding a gun when she had a 5-year-old? Like, still, the victim blaming happens when the
Yes.
women of color are the victims of police violence.
Oh yeah,
I was so
and
angry
nobody
about
likes that at all. Like, nah. So
And they
I
killed her,
am
right?
still angry about
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's hard.
Horrible.
It's hard because it's just so much. We're in a really bad fucking time right now.
And you would think that
On all
And this
fronts.
is progress. This is when we're talking about it. This
at
is,
least we're
know.
talking about it. I'm just happy
Yeah.
to see it talked about. Like
Yeah.
that whole
Absolutely.
Harvey Weinstein thing, and then everyone else that came after. Like, thank you, entertainment industry. Yes, it's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong to have to fuck your way to the top and think that if you don't fuck, you lose the job. Because that's the reality. They're, oh, you didn't have to do it. You don't have to. You can always say no. Yeah, you're right. I could get fired. I could lose my job. I could not get the promotion. I could not get the movie. I could not move ahead professionally when they're like, suck my dick, get the movie. People have sucked dick for less. But that doesn't mean that you're right to fucking pressure me
power.
like that. Exactly. It's a power move. Like, maybe I would have wanted to if you just like wine and dine me, but you gotta just pressure me into this. Now I don't even want it. Now you're making me do it. It's so like, what the fuck?
So
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like, you know, well, I'll share with you a situation that happened to me almost a decade ago. Oh shit, over a decade ago. I had to think about my age.
Still looking glorious.
Only getting better, girl.
I was working as a sound engineer at Crampton Auditorium, and Bill Cosby was one of the speakers, and I had to mic him. And, you know, lavalier mic goes underneath the shirt. You know, I had to get real close. And when I'm clipping it, he leans in and he says, girl, I could eat you up and lick the side of my face. Yo. I gave him this look, and like somebody stepped in front and was like, but she's not, what do you say? She's not on the menu or something like that. Like, nah. Like, I think about the faces, the nervous laughter, the women who were in shock, and who his handlers who were all like, here we go again. Like, you know, people took me out the room. Like, they just tried the immediate damage control. Like, oh, okay, you know, you okay? You good? You right? You fine? He's so crazy, so funny, right? And it's like, it's Bill Cosby.
Right.
And we're seeing now, it's like, well, how many women
Did you do shit
is
like
it
that
worth
too?
before you decide that he's a horrible person? Because
Right.
it's like, one, that's not enough. Two, that's not enough. Ben Roethlisberger, like, we can go down the list of how many
Sandusky. Sandusky
Like,
was
how many?
molesting
At
little
what
boys for
point
like 30 fucking years.
where
Like,
you
how many
finally
times?
like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, he has to go. Like, it's so horrible with the whole power structure, and in all of these industries, it's like that. The restaurant owner with the money, you know, pimps and hoes, or, you know, just being out on this particular block at this particular club, getting this particular hour, whatever type of power play that's being played to put you in this is just wrong. Flat out. I don't care if I got the movie. I don't care if I work the block. I don't care if I got the best shifts on the weekends and the best part of the bar. Doesn't matter what you gave me. It's wrong that I had to suck dick or do whatever it was for it. Because, I keep bringing that up because they're famous for that. Like, we just talked about the masturbation pictures. Let's talk about business meetings and other things when their dick just comes out of nowhere. Like, am I on it? I don't know.
Like in real life and metaphorically.
Yo, like, what?
Yes. I hate going to meetings where it's mostly all men with power, and I've been in many of meetings like that, and it's just the metaphorical dick swinging, like, well, I can bring this much money to the table, or I know so and so. No, like bullying each other, you know. And I just really, really prefer working with women, because women communicate and like care about feelings, but like get shit done. That's the other thing too. I feel like, and shout out to all the men who get shit done, because I'm not trying to marginalize or blanket all of you. Shout out to the AV Club who are getting shit done right
There's some
now
good
and
men
who
in the
are
room
awesome.
right here.
Yes. Shout out to all the good men. But there's so many men that once they get to a position of power, they actually don't do shit anymore. They just tell everyone else what they should be doing, and then they're not reliable. You can't
Peter
ever
Pan
depend
syndrome.
on them, you know. And I'm just like, get off your post, like, move on.
And the other flip side too is like when a woman has little power or success, like the assumption, like
she's a bitch.
like well that, but then like from the other flip side, like I'm like one time we were doing a broadcast here and it was cranking, it was, you know, success, and like some guy comes in, he sits down, he's like, too bad I'm taken, because I could really, you know, whatever the fuck he was trying to say. I wasn't even trying to hear it, but just the like assumption that like somehow you could like help like what the fuck are you even saying, man? You know what I mean?
I
Like,
tell
too bad
men-
you're taken. What the fuck does that have to do with me, son? I don't give a fuck if you got a girlfriend or not.
Son?
Not interested. But why do you think that would benefit me somehow? Like, you just, like, you see I'm doing something, you see I'm succeeding, and somehow you see yourself in
He's
that.
like, hey, she might need a little
And
dick.
I'm like, what's your name, bro? You know what I mean? Like, did you really just, you know what I mean? Or guys that come in and say, man, it's too bad I got a girlfriend. Or if they ask if I got a girl or boyfriend, I'll say, yeah. And they're like, oh, that's too bad. Why was it too bad? Because even if I didn't, it wouldn't change anything in this scenario. You know what I mean? Like, but it's crazy the implied like ownership of my success. And I can see it in men's eyes when they come in the building the first time and they see everything I got. And you can see it. You can like see them like implanting themselves into the picture like they just can, right? Like they don't even have to earn that position. Like the entitlement is so like intensely real. It's just like none of them are still in the building. I would like to add these are only people that come swiftly in and swiftly out. None of them have been allowed to stay. Everyone in the building is a solid human. But they've definitely made their way in here. I mean, you can just see the wheels turning as they're looking around and painting themselves into the picture. And it's just really like,
Male
what's your
privilege
name?
is real.
What's your name, man? Like,
It's
you
real.
know?
I've gotten into like some serious fights. Like I don't even fuck with motherfuckers anymore because they come up into spaces their first time and disrupt and think that they know everything. They're not from DC. They haven't been here a long time. They're from fucking Chicago and they just graduated from college and now they fucking know everything. And then they want to take stuff over and they're ineffective and they bring nothing to the table. But people listen to them because they take up that space and people are afraid to, and women in particular are afraid to like tell them to, you've had your turn, step back now.
Right.
Let's get back on course, you know? And I
Right.
hate that shit
Yeah.
with a passion.
I think we sparked something inside of Nikki. I think Mercury
God,
was
I feel-
retrograding all over the room.
Right. Like,
y'all know what I'm talking about.
I-
Working in movement spaces, especially too, because
is
it's not
so
just in the
violent.
private sector. It's it's where the guys are
Yeah.
supposed to be good,
Yeah.
doing stuff for women's rights and workers' rights. It's every fucking
Yeah.
where.
Everybody knows
And
the language. Everybody knows the talking points, and people don't know how to apply. Just
motherfuckers don't know how to put
respectful
together a
behavior in
strategy
their
plan.
everyday
I
lives.
know. Oh my god! Don't even get
Oh,
me
man.
started.
We do have a program that works with masculine identifying folks. It's called Rethink Masculinity. So
send your problematic men.
Yeah. I'll send you a list of
Right?
emails.
Cut them
Right.
off. Yeah, I'm
You
like,
know.
I don't have time for
obviously,
this,
it's
but-
folks who want to be part,
Who want to
wanna be part
choose?
of it,
Yeah.
but then they're more equipped to,
I'm gonna send everybody in the
hold
staff.
their hold their
What do you say, Mike?
problematic friends
Are
accountable.
you
so.
ready to rethink your masculinity?
And
So
everyone should.
if so
Everyone
yeah, if
should,
we
yeah.
can.
I think about my masculinity. a
I
lot.
know. I'm rethinking mine right now. Straight
I
up.
thought about my masculinity when we were talking about what was that quote about the guy? Like, too bad I got a wife.
Yeah.
It made me feel more masculine. Like, yeah, too bad I'm about to take her.
Right. That's what I should have said. Damn
That's the type of shit I said.
Yeah, I should have said.
I
'Cause
thought
it's
about
the
what it
masculine.
would be like to have
I
a
have
dick
some
one
good
time.
comebacks.
You can Venmo me. Ah, yes.
Nice.
Started
Yes.
printing these bags.
Yes,
I like
I need
that.
one of those.
For those of you that can't see it, it said, "Hey baby, can I call you?" And it said, "No, but you can Venmo me," which is pretty awesome. But then you got to give them your phone number, don't you?
No.
Oh.
Just
I was
your
thinking
ad-
about writing my Venmo address on it. You can just send me money.
Right. If you like what you see, cha-ching,
Pay
and
for
then
it.
get that little.
if you like what you see,
Cha-ching.
cha-ching.
Hey, don't call me baby.
I fully agree with that
Yeah.
one right there. I mean,
Wouldn't
I'm
that be
just
great?
saying.
Is every time like a man's eyes landed on your ass, it just automatically deducted like
Like
$10 from there,
Yes, $10.
like bank
$10.
account of life.
Yes.
Like, damn,
so
love that.
rich.
I
We
would
would
love
all be so wealthy.
that would work. Or there'd be a bunch of broke ass men.
The latter,
but I
probably.
know.
Women would get rich overnight. That's what would happen. All men would go
We'd
broke.
be able to shift all power back to women. It would be
would.
perfect.
Seriously.
I feel like this needs to be developed into
Yeah.
like a science fiction book or something because
Oh, I was thinking an app, but okay, fine.
So it's like, yeah, develop that app.
it needs to we
got
need
the
to
little
manifest
Snapchat
this.
with your glasses.
It's like an optical reader. It's like your eyes have been at ass level for too long,
Yeah.
Johnson.
Yes. I feel like this can
You have
be
2 seconds.
incorporated into the Glambo saga.
The Glambo, yes.
So
Protecting the
this?
streets.
yeah,
Glamorously.
So just to bring it back to more lighthearted, because it's a seriously lighthearted show, I just have to share with y'all about Chantal. She's a very, very special individual, and I learned something.
I learned something that's gonna throw a little bit go.
Oh God!
Oh,
Oh
gosh.
my God! Okay,
It's about
so,
Nick Carter.
Nick Carter, what Backstreet Boys,
R.I.P..
right?
Yeah.
So
he's done.
tell
He's
us.
dead to me,
Dead
though.
to her.
Well,
He was just
why?
accused of
What? Really?
rape. Yeah.
Oh,
A man or a woman?
Does it even matter?
I'm just curious.
I think he-
Yeah.
It was
a woman?
a woman who was in a group from the 90s.
It was a
I
woman.
mean, yeah.
Boo, Nick Carter. Well,
Wait,
th-
was
hate
one of
him.
the Backstreet Boys gay?
I think
think
Lance
so.
from NSYNC is the
Oh yeah.
Sorry, my
boy
bad.
band member who
Okay.
has come out. Yeah.
Well, we're talking about Nick Carter. Well, you know what? Because
Unfortunately.
of that, I don't know if the Burger
can't-
Princess
No.
saga can, or maybe it can, and we can. It can end. It can become like a horror film where
It
we
could, it
like
could.
Just
stab
like real
him or
life.
something.
Starts out
I don't
good,
know.
ends up a horror
Or we
movie.
come in and like save the woman, before it happens, and we like turn him into a vampire or something for
Yeah.
a life of solitude, and we trap him in a
That'd be
coffin. I don't know. I've been
some
watching
interesting-
reruns of True Blood. Sorry.
Vampire.
Where's this going?
Extremely dangerous.
This is-
Equally dangerous as men, if anything.
Vampire rapist? What is happening here?
It's like a loose pit bull.
I'm sorry.
horrible.
I'm sorry. I've been watching too much True Blood for real. I know the show's like 8 years old, but I just started watching
I love
it.
that
so-
show.
Out of all the creatures to turn him into,
I don't know.
turn him
I'm
into
sorry.
stone.
Right.
So much more practical.
He's a werewolf.
Horrible statue.
Yeah.
It turns into a werewolf with razor blade hands.
It's terrible. No. No.
Sorry. I'm
no,
sorry.
he turned into a fucking frog.
A frog or a stone?
Frog
Way
with
more
Laser eyes,
justifiable.
and then we fried him.
Yes.
We
Well,
can squeeze the DMT out of their backs.
can you tell the story anyway prior to Nick
my
Carter the
finding this
rapist?
out.
This is
Wow.
when Nick Carter was just a blue-haired
BC.
Before
songbird. I
crime.
mean,
Got it.
blonde-haired,
Blonde-haired,
blue-eyed
songbird,
songbird. Yes.
I saw the Backstreet Boys in concert probably well over 15 times.
Oh man, that's rough.
And I was I don't know how old I was, probably middle school, and they were being sponsored by Burger King at the time. And so again, there's like a lot of layers to this. My friends and I decided to put a thong into a burger from Burger King, just like one we were like middle school. We bought it somewhere, and then we threw it on stage, and it, because of the weight of the burger, landed on stage. And AJ from the Backstreet Boys picked it up and was like, and like handed it to the drummer, and all of us were like, yeah. Like there was no plan. I have no idea.
There's like
what
no
we-
phone number written on.
Nothing. We probably saw like the tag from wherever we got. Like it was
Right.
the weird. He was like, "Why is there a burger?"
It's awesome.
So we
though.
were gonna have a whole story.
about the Burger Thong Princess.
Oh,
Like
were you trying to make like that subtle pun with the burger?
no.
No.
okay.
She was in middle school.
Oh, shit, I forgot that part. My bad.
You're
No.
like corporate sponsorship and a thong. I'm in there, wherever that is.
It's like, were you trying to?
No.
So
I was like, this makes sense because it will throw further. And I've
know?
seen this in like Rockstar. Like there was no plan.
Yeah, they do that.
No
That
plan.
burger.
no more burgers and no
was-
more
yeah.
thongs for Nick Carter, though.
No.
He
No.
doesn't
Done.
deserve your burger thong.
Although don't stop throwing burgers at people. There's real value there. You know, you get hungry on stage sometimes.
Right,
I've heard. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or thongs. I mean,
You know what I'm
I
saying?
can focus on much worthier.
You're like, I got a snack for later and a new pair of fucking drawers.
Better people deserve the panties.
I'm
and
in
the
there.
burger.
I could use some new underwear.
See what I'm saying? Next week I'm bringing you a fucking
Bring me
a veggie burger
Oh,
and a thong.
I performed
Just
at the
one
Howard
thong.
Theater and people gave me J's. That was pretty cool.
Hell
I felt
yeah.
like a fucking rock star. Like,
Yeah.
that was awesome. No draws.
I want to
though.
come to your next show and throw Jay-Z in there.
No draws.
I mean, now
J's
that I'm
are
older,
better.
like I
J's are
need
better.
the food and the underwear, so I'm like, I'm probably
You're like,
not
just
gonna,
rapping.
Probably not gonna.
Burger-
Not
food
that I
songs.
didn't then.
You just throw a rock on stage instead. I mean, that was basically what you did anyway, right? There's like there's nothing afterwards, so you might as well
literally
just
no
throw
plan.
rock throwing is
like
part
a
of the
potato. Bunk, you know, like-
that's part of the one hate massive culture.
I don't think that.
Throwing rocks.
No.
okay, potatoes. I'll keep with my Irish heritage on that one. You know what I'm saying?
Word,
Yeah, and that's
word.
I don't
Equally
think I
as
want to get hit by
random as throwing a burger.
Exactly, exactly. Far more cost effective. You know what I mean? Potatoes are much cheaper. Much cheaper.
Do y'all teach people? Is that part of like how to respond on the street, throwing burgers when you see an assault?
I'm not opposed to it. I do tell people when they come in, because people share all kinds of stories about how they've responded in the past, and they vary from, like, you know, saying, I'm not interested, to punching someone in the face. And I always say, you know, whatever you've done in the past is what you needed to do to protect yourself. I'm not going to say you should punch everybody, but I'm not mad at you for
Sometimes
it.
you gotta punch motherfuckers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
in the face.
In the face.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to. I really want to thank you, ladies, so much for creating a safe space. I participated in this art project that was at the National Museum for Women in the Arts.
Clothesline project.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
You
I
were
wasn't
there
there,
for the.
no,
I wish you guys were, because one
I
of the
thought about it,
questions
yeah.
was well, we were asked to come up. Well, part of the clothesline thing is coming up with a question that you can kind of apply to any woman in the world, as open-ended as possible about their unique experience. And one of the questions that we all kind of gravitated to in one way or another was, where do you feel safe? And as we went around the room, you know, it's international, intergenerational conversation just about being a woman and the idea of a safe space being so foreign for so many people. Like, nope, not on the street. Nope, not in my house. Nope, not in my car. Nope, not at work. It wasn't even a place. It ended up being a who. I feel safe with my I feel safe with my, and that was just like the damn, like, nowhere. Not by yourself in your apartment do you truly feel safe if you're locking the doors and looking out the windows and thinking these different things, like really breaking down that. So just this work in educating everyone, all these businesses all across, it needs to be done so much. And the name is just, it's a ministry. It's really ministering to my heart. I'm so thankful that you guys are here. I'm so happy. It's not the end, but I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, we can show their website again so folks can visit Collective Action for Safe Spaces, DC, their website. I see that on your website there's a lot of accounts and stories, and you know, so I want to encourage people, if you have a story, to write in, share it. It helps to just get things off the chest and relieve it. Come in and meet Chantal and Jessica, and you know, feel safe and learn what you can do to protect yourself or a friend that may be going through some stuff. So just shout out to y'all again for being brave, for taking a progressive step to creating solutions for something that has been a problem since the beginning of time. I think it's really big, bold, important work, and I just want to do anything that we can to amplify that and make it more powerful and big. Before we like switch to the metaphysical moment or give a couple business shout outs, I just want to ask y'all, because we didn't get to talk about it, the Women's March. Were y'all there? January this year.
It was a struggle. I did end up going, and I did end up going. It was hard because, you know, in the months leading up to it, it was seeming like a white women's march. And I didn't see my experiences reflected. Yeah. And then they I kept being hopeful. I was always hopeful.
Me too.
They issued their principles document. And that looked really good. And they had a lot of diverse voices who contributed to that document. And it was amazing. And then, like, 2 days before the march, they pulled out the part about supporting sex workers' rights. And so I was like, what happened?
WTF,
yeah. And then, people noticed. Actually, folks at HIPS particularly noticed, brought attention to it. And they ended up putting it back, and so it was, it was hard.
Why would they take it down in the first place?
Right.
Women,
politics,
be women,
yeah.
Clicking up.
I ultimately went. I felt like it was, like New Year's Eve in New York City. Like, it was just a nightmare. So many people all over the place, and it did not. It was
disorganized.
Yeah.
Ew. I hate being in some shit that's disorganized, even when it's for a good cause. You shit is not organized, and I don't know what's clear, what we doing, what the next steps are. I'm like, you fucking wasting my time because this shit is serious.
It's making women look bad because we're organized.
I know,
we
but
do this.
But shout out to people that try. You got to start somewhere, and things are not perfect.
Yes.
At first, you don't succeed. Try again. But like for real, I was upset because I know nationally powerful women organizers that put together marches, women of color, white women, immigrant women that do the damn shit, know? And I was like, how come these people didn't like network and reach out and find those people that can make this more strategic and powerful and inclusive of everyone? I felt the same way that you did. I reluctantly went. I was hopeful. And then a white lady from the Midwest grabbed my arm and then touched my hair and was like, oh my God, I love your afro. How does it do that? And I was just like, this is not the time to grab someone you don't know and touch their hair.
Right. Never.
This is not that time.
No.
But I froze in that moment because that hasn't happened to me in a long time. Like something like that hadn't happened to me in probably like 10 years. I can't even remember. And I froze and I defaulted into doing what I thought was safe. Not that I felt that she was going to hurt me or anything, but I just don't like being grabbed by random people.
Of course.
And I like appeased her and just tried to wiggle my way away and then politely like get away from her, And so I lost an opportunity to stand up for my dignity and respectfully agitate her to be more conscious.
Yeah, but it's exhausting to do that all the time, to experience that from men, from white women, from everyone every day, and to always feel that it's your responsibility to speak up. No, it's their responsibility not to invade your personal space. We all know the body language cues that someone is feeling unsafe or uncomfortable. And I experienced that so much from white women, and again, it comes back to the fact that this is about power and control. And again, like when we talk about sexual harassment, it's not enough to talk about sexual harassment. We have to talk about harassment and microaggressions more broadly to take account for the ways that people of marginalized identities are taken advantage of or preyed upon by people who are even just slightly more privileged than them.
Even if they're not a wealthy, rich, white male who's like the pinnacle at a corporation or something. There's, all kinds of different levels. I, as a black woman with education, lives here in the Washington, D.C. area, has a broad network of friends and influential people. I have all kinds of privilege that white women, immigrant women may not benefit from. So I try to be very conscious of it, even though I'm always talking about privilege and power dynamics. I think it's important for everyone to recognize the levels.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But, so I was like, earlier today, I was like, hey, ladies, can I use the hashtag pussy power for the show? Because Chantal is a cat lover. And I went on your Facebook page. I was like, let me find a picture of Chantal. And like 50% of them was with you and one of your lovely cats. And so, I was,
50%, but yeah,
I was like, So in my mind, I was like, there's a lot of pussies on this page. And I was like, you know what? We're going to be talking about women and sexual harassment and all that stuff. So I was like, hashtag pussy power. And then I was like, are y'all cool if I use that? And you were like, I don't know about that. Tell us why pussy power is not necessarily appropriate to empower women.
Right. I think my direct quote was, I love pussy cats. I think pussies are awesome. I think pussy power equates gender with genitals, right? So not every woman has a pussy. And I think so yeah, I think that's why.
And that comes back to the Women's March and how focused it was on like one specific identity with the pussy hats. It's like
everyone had the pink pussy hats,
and whose pussies are pink? Like I mean, I think you like it just focuses on one specific identity.
I think Jay might have something to say.
Yeah. What do you have to say, it, Jay? This is a space where we can hold multiple perspectives and engage and still love each other. What are you thinking? I gotta. Are you in retrograde? Is that what's happening right now?
Yes.
Yes.
One love, massive. Shout outs to all of those who love power.
Yes.
Take your power back, yo.
Absolutely.
That's my quote.
Take your power back.
Yeah, man. Power for everybody.
Yes. Reclaim your time.
All the animals.
And all of that. Well, ladies, any specific business shout outs you want to give today before we transition?
Can we say like pussies, minks, and ferrets? And be inclusive if we do it like that? No, never mind. I can't just come up with these names.
I don't know.
I just thought of that.
I don't know about that.
I'll let them decide. Like I included everybody. Like what's a mink? Wait a minute.
Ferret. So, I do want to give a business shout out. Pivoting. To the Vintage Glam tea shop today. I'm wearing a blouse that I got from the Vintage Glam tea shop. It's uptown on Kennedy Street Northwest, 2nd and Kennedy. And, I think I got it for like $5.
That's a nice brooch.
Very nice.
You have on your blouse.
Thank you.
And your lipstick is perfectly matching the tones of the shirt.
Thank you. Thank you. Always trying to be fashionable. And the Vintage Glam Tea Shop does really awesome tea parties, etiquette parties for young ladies, bridal parties, all kind of stuff like that. And she's got a wonderful, really affordable vintage shop. It is a Black-owned, woman-owned business in Ward 4. Shout out to Ward 4 also.
Is there an age cutoff for the etiquette classes?
I don't think so. Is
there like a group discount?
Probably. But yeah, it's cool. She'll like teach people how to have proper tea and stuff,
God.
and like the different forks and spoons you're supposed to use for the tea and the salad and
the
where your
bread.
napkin's supposed to go and all of that stuff. It's kind of like a lost art.
A lot of people
That's
don't know how to
awesome.
set a table.
Yeah.
Which side of your plate does the fork go on?
The
Do
left.
you know the different
The
types
left,
of
am I
way
right?
to set? Depends. You have English, you have standard, you have formal, you have like there's lots of different ways to set a table low key.
Yeah.
Where does your glass go? Like all that. Shout outs to etiquette, man.
But
Everyone didn't go to finishing school.
I certainly didn't. But we should talk to the owner there and see if she wants to get certified as a safe space because it is a place where primarily women come and shop. Men certainly come in too, but it is a woman-centric space. So I'll make sure to introduce y'all, especially because your space is on Kennedy Street.
We're right down the street.
And she's down the block. You're literally like 3 blocks apart from each other. Definitely going to make a DC connection there.
Nice.
Is there a cost? Is there a
yes.
cost to get safe certified? How
Yeah.
much is it?
So we charge $500 for one bar training, and they can bring in as many bars as they own, up to 20 participants. And then we also will train the trainers. So if they want to get all of the managers from a bar trained, then that's $1,250.
Hey.
Word.
That's cool. Teach
It's
a
valuable
class
work.
and
It's
train
just-
the trainers.
Yeah.
Is
So-
the city doing? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just. Is that like a package?
Yeah, so we could train the managers in a longer training to then go back to their bars and train all of their bars. So
So they become like trainers themselves.
mhm.
I
Very
like that.
necessary. Got to keep it moving forward.
yeah,
you know?
ideally we'll spread the knowledge as far
And
as
is the mayor or anybody in our local government supporting this and giving like kickbacks to the restaurants that do this or anything? Is there support?
So interesting that you asked that because today the mayor mandated that all DC government employees go through sexual harassment training. And we don't know yet what that looks like. There was already a bill in the DC Council that would have brought together groups like ABRA, the Alcoholic Beverage Regulation Administration, and, DC Parks and Recreation, like all the spaces, DDOT, Department of Transportation, would have brought those organizations together and would have figured out what training looks like. The mayor today kind of skipped ahead. So I don't know what the plan is. I don't know if it's going to be in line with the bill that's already pending. But the goal is definitely to support the bars and restaurants. And I think we can do that on a community level. Like we have a happy hour pledge where people can sign on. Community groups like Greater Washington and District Karaoke will sign on and say, we'll only host our events at certified safe bar collective bars.
Right.
So we do support the bars and restaurants, and we host our events at CAS at our bars and restaurants because we want the money to go to bars that are taking safety seriously.
For sure. Yeah, because I mean that's an investment, and a lot of small business owners don't always have money for those
Yeah.
kind of things or money at all. So that's good that they're spending money on that.
Yeah.
Keep me informed. Let me find out the mayor has actually done something beneficial for.
We'll see.
Let me find
Let
out.
me find out what's really going on here.
Mercury. I'm.
So, with that, I want to thank you ladies again, Collective Action for Safe Spaces DC, for joining our show today. Again, super brave, super relevant, super amazing work. And I'm glad to be having this conversation at the end of the year as we go into 2018 to keep it fresh.
Yes.
Bring some more power into our spaces. Yes, So thank you again for taking the time to join us. Chantal Coudoux, Jessica Raven, pleasure having y'all.
Thank
And with
you.
that, I'm going to hand it over to the one, the only, the metaphysical, Jay Mills. Bring us some peace and clarity. Please. Again.
Right. I'm trying to reach deeply, very deep. Man, shout outs to the divine feminine energy, divine masculine energy, the yin, the yang, the sun, the moon, the earth, and the ocean, and the both of it. Shout outs to the house and that indescribable touch that makes it a home. Shout outs to the seed and the magic of the womb that makes the child. Shout outs to the thought and the action that brings that thought to life. And understanding the importance of both sides with no order is where my metaphysical message is coming from. It's important to say this because in this relative realm, we come from the realm of the absolute. In mathematics, you learn about absolute numbers. There's no positive, there's no negative, there's only the absolute. But then you bring it down to the relative realm where there's night and day and hot and cold, things that you experience through this body that your soul is wearing. It's not all, but we are fooled. This paradigm likes to put things in order as if there is a better than, when the colors of the rainbow are different and beautiful, all the same. The judgment of man versus woman and trying to see because of a physical strength or because of perceived logic, emotional tendencies and whatnot, these differences that are now being separated in this relative realm instead of being seen as absolute, that only a feminine person can feel and do these things. Only femininity is to nurture and masculinity is to be violent. And in this absolute, we must realize that to create and destroy is the same. Nature is absolute. A hurricane is absolute. A typhoon, a monsoon, Absolute, not good, not bad, not evil. It is. As women, we embody, we are a living metaphor of what it is to be divine in humanity, to have your body defy all logic and the possibility that you might give life. Knowing that the giving life is not just through your womb, it's through your words. We put this physical importance. I paused earlier when you talked about body parts and things like that, and how that doesn't make you a particular gender or the other. The idea of people are just losing their minds trying to fit into one box and not the other. I'm not feminine enough to be a woman. I don't get treated like a lady. I'm not masculine enough to be a man. And a lot of confusion is coming because we're just people. Toxic masculinity, women that feel like they have to be hard and they can't nurture to the point where they don't know how to be mothers anymore. We're suffering, but at the same time, we're growing because we're in the midst of a paradigm shift. So for the divine feminine, I just speak energy and life into that power. Yes, it is power. It is power, and it is very powerful. And with great power comes great responsibility. These are facts. The sun shines, the earth turns it back, and it becomes night. Did the sun stop shining? No. You just couldn't see the light. When we make our choice in who we choose to be and if we choose to shine, how bright we choose to shine based upon how an earthling feels, you'll never be the star you were born to be. We're always filtering our light, especially as women. We are forever filtering our light. We are forever afraid of the light. And it is such a gift and a burden. It is a beauty. Everyone loves us. No matter what the gender is, we are the ones who domesticated the animals. It's written in ancient historical texts. The feminine power, the gentleness of our spirit is something that everybody has. Just as the strength that's only supposed to be for the masculine, a woman is strong too. We are perfect, separate, collectively, individually, as a planet. The women, the men, the earth, the animals, all of us are divine. And activating your divinity means acting in love. Love is protecting. Love is making sure that everybody is always feeling safe. Nurturing or protecting, it's the same thing. Whether it's masculine or feminine, we all owe each other the duty of loving. Loving to help somebody grow, loving to protect them where they are. Both are the same. We got to do this. Word to One Love Massive. Shout outs to all the women. Shout outs to all the men. Loving is a vulnerable thing. You love someone. The one that you love can hurt you if you have attachment to the love you give. Love with no attachment. Love with no expectation. Love and activate that light. Because we all meant to shine, yo. One Love Massive.
Yes. Yes, that was beautiful. I feel better now.
I do.
Y'all feel better now?
Amazing.
I feel
Right?
a little less retrograde-y.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
That was a beautiful wisdom bucket of many nuggets.
Bucket of nuggets. You're out of control.
Bucket of nuggets.
Nikki loves her
fun to
wisdom
say.
nuggets. That's her
do.
favorite thing. She's like, wisdom nugget.
Nugget. It's just, I love the wisdom that each of us has within us and that we're able to share it. You know, you don't have to be 80 or 90 years old. Like,
On your deathbed.
you know, like all of us are packed full of wisdom. So I love, in case people didn't get it, did you hear that? You know what I'm saying? Wisdom nugget. But thank you again, Jay Mills. Thank you, Molly Rulin, for
Thank
hosting
you.
us and creating this awesome platform and space. Thank you again,
Thank you.
ladies, for the work that you do and to
Yes.
Collective Action for Safe Spaces. And, you know, oh yeah, there was one thing else I was supposed to tell people about and I forgot about.
What?
Flex Matthews dropped an album today.
Oh, snap.
And
Yo, the homie Flex.
yeah, and I listened to it and it's really dope. And you can get it
Nice.
on Tidal. are on Apple Music. And
Okay.
so I meant to shout him out earlier with the business drop, and I was just so into women that I forgot about one of our man allies. But shout out to Flex Matthews and for creating DC culture. His album is Hi, my name is Flex, and it's really dope. So check it out. But
Nice.
thank you again, and thank you for tuning in, and we will see you later.
Actually, I got one thing to add before you cut us off. Don't cut us off. We are doing a New Year's Eve party here
yes.
on the 31st, which would make sense since it's a New Year's Eve party. And it's actually on the 1st, awkwardly enough. No, it's on the 31st, and it's kind of a private event, kind of not a private event, but we've got some really amazing DJs lined up, Destruction and the Night Flight DJs, which are like an amazing deep house collective. And we're gonna deck the building out and have all kinds of edibles and pre-rolls and treats for the needy. So if you're looking for a solid New Year's Eve plan, check out our Facebook page, the Eventbrite, the website, all those things. It's the Time Traveler's Ball. So
Just follow One Love Massive.
that's right. If you aren't already, you bastards.
Can I make an announcement?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is
Hell
our
yeah.
show. We do what we want.
Saturday, December 23rd, 12/23 from 11 to 7 p.m. Make sure that you come through to Bazaar Noir.
Yes.
You don't have to say it like that, though. Like, I'm here for the bazaar.
Noir.
You should make people say that.
I should. Noir, I don't know what you're talking about. Noir. It's right upstairs. Yeah, but it's really awesome. We have like 40 different vendors of all different sorts. We've got a lot of different amazing local businesses of different types. You know, Bazaar Noir is literally the black market. And it's a play on things. It's not black in terms of culture. It's black in terms of small businesses that are really trying to work their way up to the point where they can have their own brick and mortar or build up their website to where they can really scale up their businesses. So for these small businesses, giving them this place to display all of their different artists and crafts, their books, their flowers and herbs and tasty treats and teas and candles and soaps and all small handmade we got a live painter. We have really, really great artists that are going to be performing. Shout outs to Pinky Killico. Howla. Shout outs to Godzilla, man. I hollered at the homies and they going to be rocking the mic. I'm so excited about that. My man LX, Grammy nominated. So yeah, it's going to be really dope and it's free.
Where do people find information?
You can go to bizarrenoirdc.eventsmart.com or check me out on that was kind of to check me out. Check me out on IG, The Real J Mills, or follow the J Suite on everything because that's where it's at, man.
Sign up for
At
the newsletter.
J Suite. Yeah, definitely
Yes.
sign up for the newsletter. VIP costs a little bit, but it has a lot of treats. Hope I see you on Saturday.
Cool.
That was like a commercial at first.
It was. Do you ladies have any announcements that you want to make sure that our viewers hear?
Nothing coming up. We're doing a lot of infrastructure building and planning for 2018, but you can always, if you experience harassment in DC in any public space, you can share that story on our blog or share it on Twitter using the hashtag NopeDC, and we are always looking for volunteers. So if you want to facilitate workshops, if you want to join our Rethink Masculinity program, we are always looking for new people.
Awesome.
Guys.
One more time, thank you to Collective Action for Safe Spaces. Thank you to Molly, One Love Massive. Thank you, Jay Mills, for the beautiful metaphysical moment. I'm Nikki MG. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next year. Happy holidays.
Peace.
Peace.